What I'm going to demonstrate to you how to transplant seedlings is with the yellow Inca marigolds. They have a big pom-pom flower on the top of them. For transplanting seedlings, I use the Burger BM1. It says it's an all-purpose mix. It has coarse sphagnum peat moss, perlite, and vermiculite. Those are the ingredients in it. I dump it in this container that I got. I got this container, I think, at Menards. It's a little hard to find a container that can hold up to being out in the sun all the time. But this one has. We got it last year and it's done great. Usually they'll crack up after being inside here in the sun all the time. But anyway, I dump this dirt in here and then I use my watering wand and do the magic by wetting it down. Usually I'm just going to wet the top down for a little bit. Down, not drench the whole thing. You don't want wet soil. You just want damp soil. And then I'll let that sit there for a little bit and soak in while I do something else. I've got my stack of empties here and I'm putting them in a tray, in a web tray. This is so that the water can drain out when I water it. You need the opening in the bottom. And then I'm making a big tall stack over here of empties, and then I'll be filling them up with dirt, potting soil. Sometimes I call it dirt, but it's really potting soil. After it's sat in the container with the water for a little bit, I'll just fluff up the several inches on top, like 4 inches. Then after I use up what's damp enough, I'll have to come back and put some more water on it and let it sit for a little bit more. The tray that I'm going to plant the marigolds in is called an 804, and the reason it's called an 804 is because there are 8 of these little 4-packs in here, and this totals to a 32 in a tray. And sometimes I call it 32s and sometimes I call it 804s, but the official title for it is 804. And then I just fill this with dirt. Level it off. And to speed myself up a little bit, I'll just stack them up right here and keep going so I can do it as fast as I can. You hear that wind blowing the plastic? Sometimes it's kind of scary in here. In the greenhouse we use a water-soluble fertilizer. It's made by Miller and it's called Nutrileaf Greenhouse, and it's a balanced fertilizer, 20-20-20, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potash. I mix it up in a bucket of water, fairly strong, and as I add it to my little trays that I'll put my plants in to soak, water it down a little bit. For a bucket of water, I'm going to use a heaped up 1/4 cup of this fertilizer. One thing I like about this is it's blue, and I can tell that it's in the water in case I forget what I've done. And because this is what I've got handy, I'm going to use this board to stir it up well. And I'll use my tabo to ladle it out and put it over here in my tray that I've already been watering some things in. Then I'll add some plain water to make it the strength that I want it to be. It's really important to fertilize your plants by whatever means you choose to fertilize. You know, if you're organic, then find something that's balanced and organic. If you're not organic, use something like we use. But whatever means you do, if you don't fertilize your plants, they're going to get weak and pale and not look very good. Well, I'm all set up here, ready to start poking plants. That's what I like to call it. I've got my marigolds here. I've got a big stack of filled up trays with potting soil in it. I've got one here. I went down and got myself a chair because it's a long time to stand up. It does involve getting up and down a little bit, but that's better than standing in one place the whole time. And I want to show you that I use a chopstick to poke the plants. It works really good. It's a plastic chopstick, and I'll show you how I poke these plants, and just hold on while I adjust the camera. Okay, first I take a few plants out of my little tray here that I've got, the seedlings. See, there's a little cluster of them there. I'll peel one off, and what I do is I first poke a little hole in the potting soil, and then I take my chopstick, put it right at the top of the little root ball that's on there, and push it down in till it's even with the top of the soil. That's small, and I know it's probably hard to see. I'll try to fix it so you can see a little closer. And I'm able to go fairly fast doing it this way, which with this many I've got to go fast to get done. It's a long stretch poking this many plants. As you can see, the little plant just has its head sticking up out of the soil. Most of the stem that was there is down underneath the soil. Usually I'll take the little cluster of plants and just break them apart and set them in the place where I'm going to plant them. And then I can go through. If something's too small or puny looking, I pass it up. I've just learned over the years that the ones that are slow are not quite up to par, and they will never really do very well. So I've learned to be a little bit picky about it. Then when I've got them in there, I can just go through and work them in pretty quickly. I'm sure there are other people who are faster than me, but this is me doing it. So I'll go ahead and do all those, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, I've got it all planted, so I'm going to take it over to my water and get it set down in there. Okay, I usually just set it down in here and leave it while I go back to the next one. Then after it's soaked up, I'll pick it up. This is soaking up really fast, and set it crosswise like that to let it drain down a little bit while I put the next tray in, and keep alternating the trays in and out like that. After it's drained a bit, then I just bring it over here and set it down on the bench, and I'm going to start filling up this whole area on this side, just like I did yesterday with all those marigolds. I'll fill up this side with marigold trays too.